It's funny how life throws us into situations that can escalate faster than a viral TikTok dance. One minute, you're just minding your own business, sipping your overpriced coffee, and the next, you're caught in the middle of a full blown argument. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, and you can't look away. But what if I told you that you could stop a fight in 3 easy steps? Yeah, I know it sounds like a clickbait title, but hear me out. Step 1, breathe. Seriously, just breathe. I know it sounds cliche, but when tempers flare, the first thing that goes out the window is our ability to think clearly. You've got two people, maybe more, all fired up, voices raised, and emotions running wild. It's like a pressure cooker about to blow. So take a moment. Inhale deeply, hold it for a second, and then exhale slowly. It's amazing how just a few deep breaths can bring you back to center. It calms your nervous system, lowers your heart rate, and gives you a moment to collect your thoughts. You'd be surprised how many people forget to breathe when they're angry. It's like they're so caught up in the heat of the moment that they forget the basics. Now, while you're breathing, take a second to assess the situation. What's really going on here? Is it a misunderstanding, a clash of egos, or maybe it's just a bad day manifesting itself in the form of a shouting match? You see, when you take that moment to breathe, you also create space for perspective. You can step back and see the bigger picture. Maybe one person feels unheard, or perhaps the other feels attacked. Whatever it is, understanding the root cause of the conflict is crucial. It's not just about stopping the fight, it's about addressing the underlying issues. Step 2, acknowledge. This is where it gets a little tricky, but trust me, it's essential. Acknowledgement doesn't mean you have to agree with the other person, but it does mean you recognize their feelings. I see that you're upset, or I understand why you feel that way. It's like throwing a lifeline into turbulent waters. When people feel heard, they often calm down. It's like magic. You can literally see the tension start to dissipate. It's not about winning or losing. It's about validating each other's experiences. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I don't agree with them? That's okay. You don't have to, but you can still acknowledge their feelings. It's not about taking sides. It's about creating a safe space for dialogue. When you acknowledge someone's feelings, you're not just diffusing the situation. You're also building a bridge. You're saying, hey, I might not see eye to eye with you, but I respect where you're coming from. And let me tell you, that can change the entire dynamic of the conversation. Step 3, redirect. This is where you take the energy from the fight and channel it into something constructive. Instead of letting the argument spiral out of control, steer the conversation toward a solution. Ask questions like, what can we do to resolve this? Or how can we move forward? It's all about shifting the focus from blame to collaboration. When people are in the heat of an argument, they often forget that they're on the same team. They're so focused on proving their point that they lose sight of the bigger picture. Redirecting the conversation doesn't mean you're dismissing their feelings or concerns. It's about finding common ground. Maybe you both want the same outcome, but have different ideas on how to get there. By redirecting, you're inviting them to work together instead of against each other. It's like turning a chaotic storm into a gentle breeze. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but what if it doesn't work? And that's a valid concern. Not every situation is going to be resolved with a few deep breaths and some kind words. Sometimes people are too far gone in their anger, and that's okay. But even if you can't stop the fight completely, you can still be a calming presence. You can still choose to be the person who tries to bring peace to the chaos. And let's be real. We live in a world where conflict seems to be the norm. Social media is a breeding ground for arguments, and it's so easy to get swept up in the negativity. But what if we all took a step back? What if we all chose to breathe, acknowledge, and redirect? Imagine the ripple effect that could have. It starts with one person deciding to break the cycle of anger and frustration. So the next time you find yourself in the middle of a fight, remember these 3 easy steps. Breathe, acknowledge, and redirect. It's not about being a peacemaker or a mediator. It's about being human. It's about recognizing that we all have feelings, and sometimes those feelings get the best of us. But with a little patience and understanding, we can turn a heated argument into a meaningful conversation. And who knows, you might just find that the person you were fighting with isn't so different from you after all. We all want to be heard, understood, and respected. So let's make a conscious effort to stop the fights before they start. Because in a world that often feels divided, we could all use a little more compassion and a lot less conflict.